Well, welcome back to Racing World for 2026. It's been a bit of a long summer really in many ways. For those of you that watch in the Northern Hemisphere, you're right in the middle of winter and I don't envy you that one bit. Made some pretty big decisions during the off season as to whether or not we'd bring this podcast / show back this year, and I've decided I'm going to. We're going to give it another crack this year. But I have to say I'm going to change the way in which we do things. Yes, the focus will still be around the NTT IndyCar Championship without a doubt, because we travel to those events, but also going to look more at Formula One, the INSMA GT Series and New Zealand domestic motorsport as well. But I've decided to kind of put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to perhaps be controversial at times and speak my mind on things. So you may or may not like those comments as I come along, and they'll apply to all those classes that I've just mentioned. But I think it's the only way to create a fair and neutral podcast, and an opinionated one. Whether you agree or disagree with the opinion, well then that's entirely up to you. So that's kind of going to be a bit of the theme. Hopefully you'll like it, hopefully you'll get something from it as well. I encourage the people in North America that were great fans of the show, and there's plenty coming. We're going to be at plenty of events. Look forward to catching up with some of you as well. Be really great and sharing some insights about the NTT IndyCar Series and of course the Indy Next Series and all those other things. So let's get into it. So first up, as you can tell, I'm at a speedway. There's no disguising that. So this is a dirt track speedway here in Auckland, New Zealand. Waikaraka Park as it's known, also known as Auckland Speedway now. For those of you who follow speedway in New Zealand, you know how sort of controversial this has been and continues to be, but the bottom line fact is there is only one speedway in the Auckland region now, and it's this place. Whether you're a fan of the many years of Western Springs Speedway, the chances of the sport returning to Western Springs, I believe, are very slim. Now, I'm not siding with anyone in particular. What I'm siding with is the sport. If the sport and its competitors and its fan base don't get behind the sport in this Auckland region, it's going to be gone. There's just no doubt about it. It will go. So, you know, you've got a great facility here. Yes, it still needs a lot of work done on it. They've done a heap of work. This whole new recreation of this place was done over the winter months where it rained very heavily in Auckland, and really, you know, they've done a great job. I'm proud of the fact that my company is the official broadcaster here, and we do the on-screen entertainment across the night, and we also of course do the live web stream for viewers all around the world. So first opinion, I guess, of kicking off the show, because of where we are, is Speedway safe in New Zealand? Is it in a healthy space? I think it's an incredibly healthy space. Is it in a healthy space in Auckland right now? I have mixed feelings on that. I just think we need, for the good of the sport, to come together, guys, and realise that this is the place that you're going to end up racing at. Fantastic pit facilities, and let's just get on with it and put all the other stuff aside. History is history. I've said it many times. Western Springs was a phenomenal venue. Worked there for over 15 years doing exactly, you know, what I've just described. But the bottom line fact, just like Pukekohe Park Raceway for the circuit guys, is history is kind of made and the place comes to an end. So here we are at Waikaraka. We've got some great events coming on. Great to see you know, Canon McIntosh USA #1 down here a few weeks ago, running in the 40 and 50 lapper. Here's footage of him here. Just great, outstanding performance. Obviously all those guys are at Chili Bowl right now in the States, along with a few IndyCar drivers, including Santino Ferrucci, who I spoke with last year about running in Chili Bowl, and he was quite terrified, actually. So this is a guy that, you know, does over 230 odd mile an hour in qualifying for the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge. But, you know, here he was doing his first Chili Bowl. So there's plenty to come. Great night's racing here tonight, so we won't sort of muck around for too long. We'll just tick off a few things and get the show underway. For those of you who have also wondered what we've been up to, of course, we've finished our third documentary in the series, Kiwis Born to Fly. So Kiwis Born to Fly 3, which will be out in New Zealand in just a few weeks' time. Then it'll feature long haul on the domestic and international airline routes of the national carrier, so you'll be able to catch it up with it there. Kiwis Born to Fly 2 is on this channel, so you can see that. Unfortunately, Kiwis 1 has got some restrictions on it due to the commitments we had with Penske Entertainment at the time that we made it. But here's a sneak peek of what's inside Kiwis Born to Fly 3.
We're doing lap records everywhere we go. It's the series is super competitive.
We've got leading drivers in the World Endurance Championship, leading drivers in Formula E, leading drivers in V8 Supercar, leading drivers in NASCAR, leading drivers in IndyCar, and a driver in F1.
nearly $2.5 million Kiwi worth of investment gone into my career today. It's been a huge step for him to take and leap into this.
And Colin was just so generous from the outset.
You probably got a little bit more control in engineering than you do as a driver.
Kenny's definitely, for me, he's, in New Zealand motorsport, he's the #1 legacy.
I'm really proud to be one of many New Zealanders representing New Zealand.
Well, I really hope people get something from that. There's a couple of trailers, we'll show you the other one before the show ends, but you know, it just shows some of the heritage of New Zealand motorsport, particularly the circuit stuff, and it ranges across so many disciplines. But when you consider New Zealand also has leading drivers in Formula E, leading drivers in WIC, leading drivers back in the WRC, you know, they're scattered everywhere, and SVG of course in NASCAR in the States, and then the three boys in the NTT IndyCar series. So there's a lot of New Zealand heritage reflected in this edition of Kiwis Born to Fly. And as I said, I hope people get something from it. It's a year and a half of my life, if you like, put in it. And a lot of people have accused me of not having dedication to the sport. Well, I don't think that you can find a better way of giving dedication to the sport than making 3 documentaries like that and getting them on the national airline carrier each time as well. So for anyone who has knocked what we've done, that's my answer back to you. Not going to go into it any more than that, but that's an answer. Now, moving on, let's think about things. NTT IndyCar Series, there's really only 1 seat remaining in the championship for this year, and that's the remaining Dale Coyne seat. My gut feeling is it's going to go to Romain Grosjean. He'll go back to where he started his IndyCar adventure. I think there's good synergy there. Dennis Hager, of course, has already signed for Dale Coyne, and Grosjean could bring a level perhaps of knowledge to the table. Always a bit of a fiery beast that we've seen in his seasons in IndyCar, but I think that's where that last seat is going to balance out to. Now, the other part, of course, is what's going to happen to Prema. On again, off again, rumours about everything that's going on with Prema. The bottom line fact is it looks like the original founding members of Prema have bailed from it due to various reasons, including money. The Prema IndyCar team, as it is still known, will it be around in 2026? I think it will, but they're chasing money and backers right now. So there's a pretty tight deadline because, let's face it, St. Petersburg's not that far away and there's a lot to be done. Callum Ilott posted on his social media recently, it looked like he was good to go. Robert Schwartzman, of course, took pole at the Indy 500 last year, so he'd be keen to get back. There's a good foundation there, but they're going to have to get their act together pretty darn smartly, otherwise the vultures will be circling and that'll be the end of them. So I'd like to see them back. They've got a long road ahead of them and they've got to pull in some sponsorship money pretty fast. So I'm putting a 50-50 chance on whether or not we see Prema at St. Pete. Everyone else, yes, they'll all be there, and I think it'll be Romain Grosjean. Of course, the other off-season I guess headline, if you like, was the signing of Mick Schumacher before Christmas to the Rahal Letterman organisation.
My friend Dirk Mueller, who drove for us as part of our BMW team for a number of years, was instrumental in getting us together with Mick. And, you know, we did the test, as everyone knows, and it went very, very well. Everybody was just so impressed with Mick, not just his pace and all that, but his persona, you know, his humility. I mean, just the way he went about his work was really impressive to people within our organization. And, you know, I think that was a big reason why we worked hard to try to put all this together.
Yeah, obviously, I just wanted to see the car, wanted to know how it feels to drive. But I think ultimately it was also just the passion that people had, you know, to see that and to see how excited they were about racing it purely. Really showed me that this is something that I could see myself in and working in as an environment. So definitely, I think as a whole, it has been very, very good experience. And I guess therefore I just wanted to, you know, seal it and make sure that I can get more of that in the next year.
Mick brings quite a lot to the series. Again, as I said, I'm going to be opinionated in this. Will it add to things? Yes, it brings star power. Will he take time to adjust? Yes, he will. How will he like the ovals? Well, his Uncle Ralph Schumacher, who of course drove for BMW Williams F1, said that he didn't really want Mick going there. Ralph has quite a big opinion on things, particularly in the world of Formula One and other things, and then of course concerning what Mick does as well, because brother Michael, as you know, has not been a very well man, and you know, we wish him all the well. I had privilege to talk to Michael on several occasions in Melbourne when I was still working for Television New Zealand, and we made preview show in Melbourne. I spent many a time over several years talking to Michael, and the Michael that you saw when you talked to him personally was certainly very different to the racer, and he was a phenomenal guy, and it's tragic that he is where he is right now. But back to Mick, I think that there's a long road ahead. If this doesn't work for him, he's got trouble on his hands, because he's been to Wick and it didn't really work at Alpine. He's been to Formula One as a reserve driver and a race driver, of course, for Haas, reserve driver for Mercedes. All those doors are closed now. So this, in many ways, is a bit of a last chance opportunity. So, you know, Mick's got to make the most of this. I think he'll feature reasonably well on the road courses, because some of those may suit him. The ovals will be a different thing. He's got a test coming up soon to do rookie orientation, of course. Then he'll have to do rookie orientation for the Indy 500, to the 110th edition, of course, this year. I guess the weak link there, if you like, in some ways, is the Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan organisation, because they haven't had a good track record over the last few years at Indy. You know, Graham Rahal struggling to make the field, and it even got a bit tense last year. So that could be the weak link there, and that better not reflect on the driver. So there'll be a lot of eyes watching, but it creates great storylines, and that's what we like. I guess also staying with IndyCar, the other off-season storylines, David Malukas obviously now in at Team Penske, so it will be very interesting to see how he slots into that organisation, you know, teaming up alongside two-time Indy 500 winner Joseph Newgarden and of course Kiwi Scott McLaughlin. It's an interesting mix. Malukas is not stupid, he's the wave of the future, if you like, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes, and equally Will Power over at the Andretti organisation now. Big step for Will, changed from Chevy to Honda. It's the first time he's done that in a very long time. Was with Team Penske for some 17 years. So it's a big reacclimatization, if you like. New engineers, new team, new engine, new way of doing everything. But I think you'll find that Will Power, come St. Pete, will be a pretty fiery and stirred up driver. And my gut feeling says is we're going to see some good things from him. And I think we'll see some good things at Indy. So you just would never rule him out of any of those equations. I'm really thinking strong things there. Penske again, I'm not sure. This is a very, very big year for McLaughlin. He needs to score some victories, needs to recover from last year's Indy 500. You've got to put those things behind you now. It's going to come up time and time and time again in May, but he's going to have to put that all to one side and get on with the job. Newgarden, well, he goes in as a two-time champion, obviously fancies himself as 3, but I think he's in an interesting year, and I believe he's in a contract negotiation year with Penske this year. So it's kind of time for Joseph to perform, because we didn't really see a stellar season from Joseph last year. Yes, you can blame the team on some occasions, certainly all the fiasco around the 500 and the legalities of the car, but this is a time to perform. And then you look at Chip Ganassi racing Palau, well, unstoppable for the last couple of years. Will that trend continue? The Iceman, Sir Scott Dixon now, knighted in the New Year's Honours list here in New Zealand, so he is now a Sir. Scott was down here recently with family for the Christmas period. Just an all-round great guy. Features in Kiwis Born to Fly 3 as well. Talks about his legacy within the sport. Dixie needs a strong year too, just to prove that he's still in the game. He's more than capable. And don't forget, he's won a race every single season he's been in this thing. So we can expect nothing more than that. Whoever comes out of the bolt quick at St. Pete could become the form guide. Just quickly rounding off IndyCar, of course, we've got all these new scenarios. We've got Arlington as a track, which, as the New Zealand designer for the track, Tony Cotman, said to me, it's badass fast. Pato O'Ward's been down there and totally agrees with that. Very, very flash VIP facilities. As they say, everything's bigger in the state of Texas, and that's for sure. New track in Canada, shuffle round of things. The championship ends at Laguna again, misses out on Nashville. Lots of political reasons behind that. Do I agree on that? Partially, only partially. I think I would have liked to have seen the championship finish under lights at Nashville, but I understand why it's happening in Laguna, and that's just one of those things. So we're in for a great season in IndyCar. Innsma, well, totally blown away when we saw that when we were at Road Atlanta for the doco. Just phenomenal category, going from strength to strength to strength, 70 odd cars there. And of course, by the time you see this, the Raw for the 24 will have already happened. And then of course, the Rolex Daytona 24 is only a few weeks away. Just a category that's on the growth. Good for drivers of all nationalities, Americans, New Zealanders, wherever they come from. This is a series that's got a lot of momentum, but again, I'm going to be slightly controversial and go, that doesn't mean it's a place for drivers to go because they've got nowhere else to go. You've still got to be a good quality driver to get there. So it's not a refugee place to go, if you like. This is a hard championship and you've got to deliver. So for any driver who's out there thinking, oh yeah, easy berth, I'll go and run in an endurance car for a while, that's simply not the case. And then finally, just to wrap up this show, because by next week we will have got well into it and we have got the IndyCar content days coming up, so we'll be able to speak to a lot of drivers. The New Zealand domestic scene, well, I've kind of touched on Speedway. The Circuit Series is in full swing now, 2 weeks into the Toyota Series, CT Frock, whatever you'd like to call it. 19 odd drivers down here, all internationally, 3 Kiwis in there, a great range of talent. Arvid Lindblad, who ran in the series last year, of course, is now driving for RB in Formula One this year. So it shows you how that is a development series, and that's a great thing. I don't think the cars sound overly flash, but that's just the way that engine sounds now and what it is. But what it does say is that Europeans and North Americans and anyone really, even from the Asian countries, can come down here, get several weeks of very hard racing, a lot of mileage, professional teams, and go into a season in the Northern Hemisphere really race fit. So for all those drivers that are here, I think that's a great thing. The rest of the series, yes, it's going from ups and downs and strengths and weaknesses. Motorsport's not a cheap game. The economy still in New Zealand is not flash. We've got to dig deep and get our way through this as a nation, no different than any other country around the world. And I think the time will come. Promotion counts big time. The Next Gen series is certainly headlining a lot of things, but there's a long way to go. Television plays an important part, but so do things like this podcast and stuff. You know, that's the new wave of viewing, if you like. And I just hope in 2026 I can bring you a lot of information. As I said, maybe controversial, because I'm going to be, but I'm going to speak my mind. It's time to speak our mind, time for you as the viewer to make up your decision on what you like, what you don't like. I'll answer the feedback, so don't you worry about that. So you can write to me at any time, and of course you can share, like and subscribe to this podcast. It's really going to mean quite a lot to me, and we're going to get it back on the Spotify and Apple podcast platform as well, so you'll be able to listen to the audio version when you're driving to work or commuting to work. I'm going to leave you for now here at Auckland Speedway. We've got a meeting in just a few hours' time. I wish you all the very best for the new year. Thanks so much for watching. Let's get down and dirty in 2026.
Yeah, it's always special to have the New Zealand flag on the side of the car.
I'm really proud of my family heritage. Yeah, it gives me a lot of pride, for sure.
Again, not saying Dixie's the only one, but I'm saying you look at him as really the prime example of nothing to everything.
Well, in such a small country, there's a lot of talent down there, and we're really good. And that's what makes me feel good, at least.
And you would say to those 2 kids that you two would be the next people to win overall at Le Mans for Porsche.